Hello and welcome. They say a year in politics can feel like a lifetime. A year as the CEO of a major company also. Irish-Australian businessman Alan Joyce has been the Chief Executive Officer of Qantas Airways Limited for 15 years. He is both admired and derided in Australia, depending upon whether you agree or disagree with his decisions. Whatever the case, the majority of people respect him as a sincere man. Joyce was born in June 1966 in Dublin, Ireland. He grew up in a working class family and was the first in his family to attend university. He graduated from Trinity College Dublin with a degree in mathematics. He began his career with Airlines, the national airline of Ireland, where he worked in a variety of roles, including as a graduate trainee, revenue accountant and network planner. In 1996, Joyce joined Ansett Australia, the now defunct airline, where he served as the head of network planning and revenue management. He later joined Qantas in the year 2000 as the Executive General Manager of Network Planning and Scheduling. In 2003, he became the Group Executive of Qantas and was responsible for the airline's strategy and management. In 2008, Joyce became the CEO of Qantas, succeeding Jeff Dixon. Here is Joyce in an interview explaining how he works.
And then I became very interested in the business side once I got into the aviation industry, and that became part of my blood. They say you get the jet kerosene in your blood and you never leave it, and that's what happened to me. Your formal education really gives you a foundation for the way you deal with the rest of your career. And having a mathematics background and a science background for me, I find very helpful, because one of the things I definitely practice is the scientific method, coming up with a hypothesis and then getting us whatever available information is there to either validate it, prove or disprove it. And when you're dealing with the business world where you don't have perfect information in any business, you're trying to get as much as you can together in order to make a decision. You have to have I think in my case, I find it very effective to have a hypothesis, get the information you have to help you inform if that decision is right, and then get on and make the decision. There's a great example of one of the things I think occurred in my time as CEO of Qantas called QF32, when the engine exploded on an A380. We had in this room what we call a crisis executive, where we had the chief engineer, the chief pilot of Qantas, and we were watching the TV screens from CNN and from Fox News and Sky News of the aircraft pieces on the ground in Indonesia. We had a decision to make with this aircraft that was circling and eventually landed. We knew there was a big engine problem that existed on the fleet. We had 3 aircraft due to depart with over 1,000 people on them. And we had to make a decision whether it was safe to operate those aircraft, or do we call them back to the gates and take people off it. From the little information we had, our chief engineer noticed something on the screen. He said, I think we're going to have to ground the fleet. So we had a hypothesis that was the aircraft wasn't safe to operate. And then with the little information we had to make a judgment call.
Tough years were to follow, turbulent years, surges in the price of aviation fuel, industrial trouble.
2,000 ground crew jobs are to be outsourced, meaning around 8,500 of the airline's employees have now been axed, around a third of its pre-pandemic workforce.
The decision to ground all of their A380s after Flight 32 engine failure after takeoff at Singapore, and of course COVID. In 2011, Joyce faced a major challenge when he grounded the entire Qantas fleet in response to ongoing industrial disputes with the union's airline staff.
Australian airline Qantas has grounded all of its flights with immediate effect due to an industrial dispute. The airline's management has been locked in a bitter row with trade unions over plans to restructure the company. Baggage handlers, engineers and pilots have been involved in a series of strikes since September.
As a precautionary measure, we have decided to ground the Qantas international and domestic fleets immediately.
The move was controversial but ultimately successful in resolving the dispute. Under his leadership, the airline has undergone significant changes, including the introduction of new aircraft, the restructuring of the airline's business model, and the expansion of Qantas's international network. In addition to his role at Qantas, Joyce has served on several boards, including the International Air Transport Association and the Business Council of Australia. He has been recognised with numerous awards, including the Officer of the Order of Australia for his services to the aviation industry. Alan Joyce will remain in the role until November 2023 and will be replaced by the group's current Chief Financial Officer, Vanessa Hudson. Hudson, who joined Qantas in 1994, has held a number of senior commercial, customer and finance roles across the group in Australia and overseas. In 2018, she assumed the position of Chief Customer Officer and in late 2019 became the group's Chief Financial Officer. She held this position throughout the COVID crisis and will continue in her current role whilst also being the CEO designate and joining the board before taking over as the company's 13th CEO in 103 years. Vanessa's experience of 3 decades in a range of roles, both onshore and offshore, across commercial, customer and finance, will serve her well. She also led the fleet selection process in 2022 for the renewal of our domestic jet aircraft over the next decade. Interestingly, the CEO of Virgin Australian Airlines, a Qantas competitor, is another woman, Jayne Hrdlicka. I want to acknowledge the assistance of ChatGPT OpenAI in the writing of this presentation. We truly are living in a brave new world. Thank you for watching. This is the 800th video that the Old Fliers Group have posted to YouTube. Liking and subscribing encourages new content.